What is going on, guys? Phil here from Philscraftcorner. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm doing pretty good. Today's video we are talking about jigs. This is a jig, this is a jig, and even this is a jig. Now, all jigs do are help you line things up and make your job a bit easier. Now, this jig is probably my most popular jig at the moment, which people are asking and commenting about, and it's for laser engraving my business cards. These business cards, this one's not engraved because I need to do some more, but these just sit right in that slot. I engrave 9 of these at a time, and then when you get them out, the little finger holder at the bottom there, that helps you get it out. We're not going through this jig today. We're going to go through a different jig because I need to redesign and remake one of my other jigs, so we might as well make a video of it, of how I go through that process, and then you can learn and probably make your own jig. The one I'm talking about that I'm redesigning is my slate coaster jig. You've probably seen this in my other video where I test different finishes on slate coasters to see which one gives the best results. So all you do is you take a plain coaster and you sit it on there like that, and this lines them up with the design that I've got on lightburn, and that helps me just line everything up very quickly. This top corner sits in the top corner of my laser, and it's just nice and quick and simple. This one, I don't know if you can see very well. All I did was I engraved the 4 squares for the slate coasters, and I stuck a bit of scrap offcuts from other jobs just in the middle to help them line up. The one I'm going to redesign is going to be much better than this. It's going to be much bigger because my slate coasters are getting pretty popular. I design and make merch for the Cat Cafe in Blackpool, and that's where I need a lot more of these because they're ordering 50 coasters at a time, and obviously me just doing 4 in one go, it's not very great. I can probably fit 8 on my laser, so I can get double of the amount. So we're going to maximize the space that we can, and we're going to make this jig look a little bit better than it does. Alright guys, so we're over in Lightburn now, and this is my coaster template design. This is what I use with my current jig. As you can see, I have the 4 squares for the template, and the gap in the middle is 4mm either side. I've got the output turned off on these, so it's kind of hard to see. So we'll turn that back on, and there we go. You can see it a little bit better. So we're just going to duplicate this up and see how many we can fit on one sheet. So this is the full size of my laser cutter. As you know, in Lightburn, you can set the size of your laser bed, and this grid represents that whole size. You can change your sizes from millimeters to inches, and it just changes accordingly. All of my jobs start from 0, 0 up here. This is my laser origin. It homes to the back of the machine, so you can set your jig accordingly. You might have it set to the front left or the front right or even the back right. Wherever you have this set, make sure your jigs are set to go into that corner. I have a couple of pieces of wood, basically one piece goes across this side and one piece goes across this side, and they set the 0, 0 along the axis. I engraved a line going right across both axes with my laser, and that sets the perfect right angle for my machine. So let's duplicate these up and we'll go from there. 2 ways of doing this. You can press Ctrl and D and then shift and drag them over like so, or we can use the grid array. So we'll start with the first one, we'll move this all the way to the top left corner, we'll maximize the space that we can. I do want a little bit of space there just so that it makes it easier for me to get the slates in and out with the jig already in my laser, because like I say, I do have a piece of wood here and here, so as long as I can get the slate in and out nice and easy, we should be okay. Now each of these lines is 10mm on my machine, so we'll just use 10mm as that reference. The grid array is this box of 9 squares, so if we click on there, we've got two options. We can create a virtual array, which won't create physical copies of this, but it'll show you kind of like a ghost of these ones wherever you put things, and the laser will take them as a physical copy and engrave them or cut them. But if you edit this first one, it will edit the other ones. And if you don't create a virtual array and you edit this first one, all the other ones will stay the same. So we're just going to use just a standard array, and we're going to drag this box over here, and we're going to see how many we get. As you can see, there's quite a lot of spacing from last time I had this set up, and we also have shift by half selected on that. For some reason, in my version of Lightburn, I don't know what it is. If I open the grid array and shift by half is already on, it doesn't matter if I turn it off. When I click the next one, it still shifts by half. So I have to turn shift by half off, come back out, and then back in again. So let's cancel that. We'll delete these two, and we'll start again. So as you see, shift by half's now off on both of those. We want our spacing to be 4mm. That gives me a nice gap in between both. In fact, I'm using 3mm material now, so we can use a 3mm space in between each one. 2, 3, so I can get 4 there, by 4 again, and we want a 3mm gap because I'm using 3mm material. So I will fit 8, and then there'll be another gap around. So that's the smallest I can make this jig. So there we go, this is the basis of our jig. Now if you wanted to, you could simply engrave these lines instead of cutting them out on another piece of material, and then like I did with the first jig, just glue lines across there, and that works really well, and it's really easy to do. But we want to create kind of a 3D space. So we're done with the grid array for now. The next thing is we need to create the borders in between each piece. So we'll bring in a box, and we'll go from here all the way across. Oh, I've not zoomed out enough. That's okay, we can edit that. We want this red anyway. In fact, we'll make this blue for now so we can see the difference in what we're doing. And we want this to go all the way to either side. And this is going to be our first border. So we need to make this much bigger because we don't want this. We don't only want this 3mm thick. We want this as thick as a slate, basically. So we're going to go. So we're going to go up 5mm. Now I'm just going to use the height on here. I'm going to turn the lock off so it doesn't modify the sides of it. So we're going to go 5mm up. I know that's not a lot, but it's enough to sit a slate next to it. The next thing I need to do is create the tabs on this side. So I'm just going to shift and bring this down to the bottom. So I know that that's aligned with all this. And I'm also going to group all of these together just in case I accidentally click on something and move it, which is not what we want. So again, we want the rectangle tool, and we can just bring this in anywhere really, and we want to create a tab of any size in length, but the height we want to be 3mm. So this tab is now going to sit in the middle of each of these coasters. Oops. Like so. and you can use Control and Shift to just adjust these manually. So you basically want this as close as you can possibly get it. And then we're going to use the grid array again, just because it's quicker. And we're going to do one tab on the center of each of these, just to give it as much strength as possible. And we're going to space these out until they're roughly center. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what we're going for. I'm going to go for 60mm, 70, a little bit less. There we go, that will do. So these are going to be the holes that this piece are going to sit into. So we need to duplicate all of these holes because we want to leave one set in there, but we also want to bring another set down to line up matching there. So we'll duplicate those with Control and D, and we'll shift and bring this down to here. What we also want to do is we want to bring this up a tiny little bit, because what we need a little bit of a tab to go through the material, but we don't want it to go all the way through and poke out at the other side. Sometimes the MDF is 2.9mm, sometimes it's 3.2, so we just bring the tabs in slightly, and then we'll highlight it all and we will weld it, and there we go. We have our first piece to go across this way. Now there's a couple of ways that we can do the next ones, and that is we can just have a piece aligned from the bottom here to the top, or we can go super advanced, which I'm not going to do because we don't need to, and we can put a little indentation along here and another one on the top, and then it will do like a half lap joint. It will make it stronger, but it's completely unnecessary. I'm now going to take one of these and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and we are going to bring it centered here, like so. Again, we're going to use the grid array button to align these. So we want this over here. Ooh. It should be 100mm because that's how big these are. So if I now create a virtual array, I'll show you the difference with a virtual array and a standard array, because when I move this one, it will also move these ones. So we now want to go down, and we also want this to be, we don't quite need 100mm, 50? 70. 70 is fine. So the difference between a grid array and a normal array is I cannot select these now. These are not fully selectable. The only one I can select is this one. As you can see, it's a slightly different colour. So we'll come in here and we need to move this ever so slightly to the right, and that is going to bug me. And there we go. You can hold shift to stop you being able to move it up and down. You can move it on 45-degree angles at a time, and you can hold control to take snapping off and move it very, very slightly. So because I moved that one, it's now moved this one and all the other ones automatically. But the laser will take these as full cuts. Also, if I change the colour of this one, it will change the colour of all the other ones at the same time. And as we saw with the first ones, you can only select one at a time and it doesn't change the rest. That's fine, it works well for what we need. And the next thing we need is another rectangle 5mm high, but the height of one section of our template. So we will take this and we'll come across and we'll go width 5mm by 100mm, and that will now give us our piece that goes in this side, and it will line up with this piece on the edges. And again, we need to duplicate that to be in the middle of each of these, so we need 6 of these ones. But first of all, I am going to line this up with this one, so we will go, it's fine, I want to ungroup that first. So we want this as close to being perfect as possible. And then if we shift click on the tab over here, you can select all of the red ones together and then group them again, rather than having to come through, select everything and then unselect all of it. So we don't want, you can just shift select the colours in the tab. So when you're first doing your design, just have everything on a separate colour that you need, like each section being a separate colour, like the tabs. I should have probably put them as a different colour than these, because if I need to select all of these in one go, then I can do that, but this is okay. So we're duplicating this tab and we are going to align it again a little bit on the inside of this one. So I'm just using Control Shift and the arrows to move this very slightly. If you use Shift and the arrows, it moves it a long way. If you use Control and the arrows, it moves it a little bit, but Control and Shift and the arrows moves it a tiny bit. Make sure if you're selecting multiple things that they are grouped when you use Control Shift, otherwise it goes a bit weird and funky and it aligns them all to one place. So again, we need to weld those together, and then that is our tab that goes in this section. Then we need to duplicate that 6 times. So we'll come over here, use our grid array, we'll make that 1mm separate, and we want 6, so we want 5 of those. No, 6. I somehow. So again, this is a little bit easier to see. This is my original, and these are the virtual arrays. So I can't select them, I can't move them, but if I modify anything on this one, everything changes automatically. So that is our design ready to go and sensor laser and cut out. I can, if I wanted to, engrave all of these bits to line up, but I don't really need to, because I've got all of these cross points where these will line up. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to swap the colours of these, because a blue on mine is set to be a line engraving and the red is set to cut. This is from my years of using K40 Whisperer. The vectors were set to red as a cut, blue as a vector engrave, and black as a rester engrave. So those are the 3 that I use in Lightburn at the minute, and if I need to use all of these other tabs, then I still do use them, but generally I only use 3 different colours, and that's still what they are set to. So we're going to make that blue, and yeah, so I can select everything and then deselect those that I've grouped, make those red. There we go. So I've got all my cuts in the places I need them. I've got my tabs here that I need, and I've also got these tabs. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring this down a little bit more like so, and I'm going to add a border around the edge of this whole thing, so that I'm not wasting material basically. I can do this out of one sheet, and then I can cut all the tabs out of the outside of that sheet. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a rectangle around. I'm not even going to do it that way. I'm going to do it an even better way. So we're going to come in, we're going to select this. We're going to use our offset tool, and we're going to go 20mm around the edge and outwards. So that'll create our border for me, and I'll make that red. There we go. So it's going to cut this out. So the size of our jig is going to be 449 by 243, and that's going to fit the 8 slate coasters on here. And then we can also put the rest of these tabs around. I'm kind of regretting making this a virtual array now, so let's just duplicate that, and we'll delete the original, which will delete the array. And now I'll create a standard array of 6. So now I can just place these around where I need them and rotate them. I'm not wasting material. So there we go, there is our slate coaster template design done. We'll get this cut out, we'll assemble it using a little touch of glue, and we'll give it a test. We'll see how it works with the slate coasters. Everything should be fine. Okay, so let's get this sent over to the laser, we'll get it cut out, and we'll give it a test. Alright, we're all set up, the preview looks good, so let's get cutting. Right, assembly on this is very straightforward. I shouldn't even really need any glue, so I'm just going to dry fit this for now anyway. This long strip fits straight along there. For some reason, there we go. There we go, definitely don't need any glue there, nice and tight joints. These are a bit looser. What we want is for this to line up. So there, I probably should have set these to center. Thinking about it, it would have made assembly so much easier. As you can see, the top ones are going to line up, but I don't think the bottom ones are. They're going to be slightly off. Yeah. But it's fine. It will do the job. Let's grab some slates, and these are fitting really well. Bit of movement in some of them. And there we go. Nice and easy. That should fit in the laser like that. We can align the top to be whatever the middle slate is really, because they're all different heights. And then we can engrave on them. Nice and easy, nice and simple. Okay, to use the jig, it's very simple. All I have done, I have deleted all the red cut marks. I've left the blue template marks of where the coasters are sat, and I've just imported this design which I found on design bundles and the Cat Cafe really like. So we're going to engrave some coasters with this. You just simply just select one design, put it the size you want. I centered this up into all of the other ones and just duplicated it around, and we're ready to engrave. Alright, it works perfectly. All the slates are nice and easy to put in and take out. I can line as many up as I need. That's going to sit nicely in the corner every time, and yeah, I'm happy with it. It works really well. Alright guys, there we have it. One upgraded jig. So we went from this one, which was just a piece of scrap with just a few other bits of scrap glued on there, to this one, which actually has the slots measured out and it's all fairly equal, and it looks fairly good. On the back of it, you can see where the slots are, where they line up, and again, nice and simple. The point of this was to try and help you come up with a jig that you could use for yourself and how to make that. And if you're interested in my business card jig, then I'll put a video out of how I did this jig, because again, I want to make this bigger. This is designed to fit on a K40, and obviously my machine is twice the size of what you can fit on a K40, so I might as well make this bigger and I can put out more business cards in one batch that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video, you found something useful. If you do need a jig like this, then hopefully you can go and create one yourself. And if you want a copy of the file for the slate coasters, I'll upload a copy to my Ko-Fi page where you can head over, you can download that file, you can even buy me a coffee and help support the channel. If you don't want to donate, then the best thing you can do to help my channel grow is hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this, and hopefully we can grow together and I can bring you more information, and as I learn I can pass that information on to you guys. And just comment down below, just leave me a nice comment, say whether or not you liked the video, what you did or didn't like about the video, what you think I could improve on. I'm always looking to make this channel better for you guys, because that's the whole point. I'm almost at 2,500 subscribers now, and that's absolutely mind-blowing for me. So if I can hit that mark soon, then I'll be super happy, and it'll all be thanks to you guys. So I will catch you in the next video, I guess.